My cheating wife said I would never leave her, and I served her the next day. The flickering candlelight cast long shadows on the walls, dancing eerily as I paced the room. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing the betrayal that had shattered my world. "Henry," she had said with a smirk, "you'd never leave me." Her confidence was maddening, her arrogance infuriating. Little did she know, I had a plan, one that would change everything. As the clock struck midnight, I stood poised at the edge of a precipice, ready to serve her the cold dish of her own making. Today's story will keep you on the edge of your seat. Trust me, you won't want to miss this one. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's get into it. If you're excited about this story, let us know. If you enjoyed the video, press 1. If not, press 0. Your feedback really inspires me to gather more uplifting and meaningful stories. The perfect illusion. Life with Emily had always seemed perfect on the outside. We had the charming house, the adorable kids, and the seemingly unbreakable bond that our friends envied. But behind closed doors, the cracks in our facade began to widen. I, Henry Cavill, had built my life on the belief that love conquers all. Yet, love alone couldn't shield me from the storm brewing in my marriage. Emily and I met in college. She was the epitome of grace and beauty, with a laugh that could light up the darkest room. I was captivated from the moment I laid eyes on her. We were inseparable, and before long, we were married, building our life together brick by brick. Our 2 children, Sophie and Ethan, were the glue that held our family together, or so I thought. It wasn't until I found the first text message that my world began to crumble. A simple "miss you" from an unknown number, appearing on her phone screen one evening while she was in the shower. My heart sank, but I dismissed it, convincing myself it was a harmless message from a friend. Yet, as days turned into weeks, the signs became impossible to ignore. Emily started coming home later than usual, with flimsy excuses that didn't hold up under scrutiny. The intimacy between us dwindled, replaced by cold indifference. I was living in a fog, desperately clinging to the hope that this was all a misunderstanding. Unmasking the truth. One rainy evening, as Emily claimed she was out with friends, I decided to follow her. The guilt gnawed at me, but I needed to know the truth. The streets were slick with rain as I trailed her car to a quaint little cafe on the outskirts of town. My heart pounded as I watched her through the window, sitting across from a man I had never seen before. Their interaction was intimate, their gazes lingering longer than they should. My hands trembled as I took photos, documenting the betrayal unfolding before my eyes. The evidence was undeniable, yet confronting her felt like an insurmountable task. When she returned home that night, her eyes sparkled with a joy that had been absent for months. "Did you have a good time?" I asked, my voice betraying none of the turmoil within. "Yes, it was great," she replied, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. The mask she wore was flawless, but I saw through it now. Days turned into weeks, and I continued to gather evidence, each new piece tightening the knot of betrayal in my chest. I confided in no one, the weight of my discovery too heavy to share. But the time for confrontation was drawing near. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. If you enjoyed the video, press 1. If not, press 0. Your feedback is my fuel to gather more inspiring and meaningful stories. Thank you. The confrontation. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when I finally confronted Emily. The kids were at a friend's house, giving us the privacy I needed for the conversation that would change our lives forever. I laid out the photos, the text messages, the undeniable proof of her infidelity. "Emily," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil within, "we need to talk." She glanced at the table, her eyes widening as she took in the evidence. For a moment, she seemed at a loss for words. Then, she laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that sent shivers down my spine. "Henry, you'd never leave me," she said, her voice dripping with arrogance. "You love me too much." Her words stung, but they also steeled my resolve. You're right, I replied calmly. I do love you. But love isn't enough to blind me to your betrayal. Her expression shifted, confusion and fear flickering across her face. What are you saying? I'm saying it's over, Emily, I said, my voice firm. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. If you enjoyed the video, press 1. If not, press 0. Your feedback is my fuel to gather more inspiring and meaningful stories. Thank you. Leaving Emily wasn't as simple as walking out the door. We had a life together, children to consider, and the house we had made our home. But her betrayal had given me the clarity I needed to plan my departure meticulously. I consulted a lawyer, ensuring that Sophie and Ethan's well-being would be prioritized. I began discreetly transferring funds to a separate account, preparing for the financial fallout. Every step I took was calculated, every decision made with the intention of protecting myself and my children from the impending storm. Emily continued to act as if nothing had changed, her arrogance blinding her to the preparations I was making. She was confident that I would never leave, that I was too weak to live without her. But she underestimated my resolve. The day finally came when I was ready to leave. I had secured a new place, a small apartment not far from the kids' school, ensuring minimal disruption to their lives. With a heavy heart, I sat Sophie and Ethan down and explained as gently as I could that their mother and I were separating. Their tears broke my heart, but I knew this was the right decision. The departure. The morning of my departure was surreal. Emily was out, blissfully unaware of the seismic shift about to occur in her world. I packed my things methodically, ensuring I left nothing behind that would tie me to the past. As I walked through the house one last time, memories flooded my mind, the laughter, the arguments, the love we had once shared. When Emily returned, she found the house eerily silent. She called out for me, her voice tinged with confusion. I stepped into the living room, suitcase in hand. Henry, what are you doing? She asked, her eyes wide with shock. I'm leaving, Emily, I said, my voice calm. It's over. Her face contorted with rage. You can't leave me. You'll never survive without me. I took a deep breath, the weight of the past lifting from my shoulders. Watch me, I said, and walked out the door. The days that followed were a whirlwind of adjustments. The apartment felt empty and unfamiliar, but it was a fresh start. Sophie and Ethan adapted quicker than I had anticipated, their resilience a testament to their strength. We established a new routine, finding solace in the small moments of normalcy. Emily's reaction was as volatile as I had expected. She called incessantly, her messages swinging between anger and pleading. I responded only when necessary, keeping our interactions focused on the children. The woman who had once been my world was now a stranger, her betrayal severing the bond we had shared. Despite the challenges, I began to rediscover myself. The freedom from the constant tension was liberating. I reconnected with old friends, pursued hobbies I had long neglected, and found joy in the simple pleasures of life. The pain of Emily's betrayal lingered, but it no longer defined me. The final confrontation. Months passed, and I found myself standing on the precipice of a new life. Emily's arrogance had crumbled, replaced by a desperation I had never seen before. She showed up at the apartment one evening, her eyes red-rimmed and pleading. Henry, please, let's talk, she begged, her voice trembling. I let her in, the familiarity of her presence stirring a mix of emotions within me. What is there to talk about, Emily? Tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry, Henry. I made a mistake. I love you. Please, let's try again. Her words tugged at my heart, but the wounds she had inflicted were too deep to heal. Emily, you betrayed my trust. Love isn't enough to fix what you broke. She collapsed into a chair, her sobs racking her body. But I can't live without you, she whispered. I knelt before her, taking her hands in mine. You need to learn to live with yourself first, Emily. We both do. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. If you enjoyed the video, press 1. If not, press 0. Your feedback is my fuel to gather more inspiring and meaningful stories. Thank you. As I watched Emily leave, a part of me mourned the life we had lost. But another part felt a sense of liberation, of new beginnings. The future was uncertain, but it was mine to shape. The kids adjusted to the new normal, their laughter filling the apartment with a warmth I hadn't felt in years. I focused on being the best father I could be, on rebuilding my life from the ground up. The scars of Emily's betrayal would always be there, but they no longer defined me. Life moved forward, and so did I. The questions of what might have been lingered, but they were no longer chains that held me back. Emily's arrogance had been her downfall, but it had also been my catalyst for change. I served her the reality she had refused to see, and in doing so, I reclaimed my life. Looking back, I realized that the story of my cheating wife was not just a tale of betrayal, but a journey of self-discovery. Her infidelity forced me to confront my own weaknesses, to find strength in the face of adversity. It taught me that love is not just about holding on, but also about knowing when to let go. The path ahead was still unclear, but it was mine to walk. And as I took those first steps into the unknown, I couldn't help but wonder, what new adventures awaited me on the other side of this chapter? The questions remained, but they were no longer a source of fear, they were a promise of the possibilities yet to come. The end of this story, much like the end of any journey, is not truly an ending but a beginning. The tale of my cheating wife is but one chapter in the book of my life. The rest remains unwritten, a blank canvas waiting for the brushstrokes of fate and the choices I have yet to make. Crazy, right? But hold on, because the next story is going to blow your mind even further.